If you've got an Xbox Live Gold membership and you're in need of a little respite from the sizzling summer sun, then we've got just the thing. 4 fresh games with gold for you to hunker down with, yours to keep completely free of charge with your subscription.
Kicking things off and available for the entire month is Planet Alpha, a side-scrolling platformer which sets you down on an alien world that's bursting with colourful scenery, strange life forms, and all kinds of danger. You play as a lanky spaceman whose survival will depend largely on how adept you are at the platforming fundamentals like jumping over obstacles and running like hell when something scary pops up behind you. To keep things fresh, there are also puzzles to solve and a little like stealth work to be done. But where things get really interesting is the fact that you can shift the game's world from night to day at the press of a button. Not only does this let you bask in the game's gorgeous artwork under both the pale moonlight and the brightness of day, but it can have a major effect on your environment. The killer birds that turn your nights into nightmares will be distracted by the freshly blooming fruit of the daytime, while certain plants will unfurl and expand under the right light, creating new platforms for you to travel over. The difference between this inventive indie gem and your bog standard side-scrollers really is night and day.
Yours to grab from July 16th to August 15th, Rock of Ages 3 Make and Break. It begins with the scene from Homer's Odyssey as a blind giant hurls boulders at you and your shipmates over in ancient Greece. Then it all gets a bit less classical as Odysseus is squished by a falling rock and his sidekick Elpenor is forced to take up the mantle and lead the crew in a rock-flinging battle with famous figures from across history. Which, no offense to Homer, actually sounds like a much better story. And it also makes for a super fun tower defense-ish game when you roll boulders at everyone from Rasputin to Queen Elizabeth, trying to keep your own castle from getting flattened in the process. On top of that, there's also a variety of time trial and obstacle course style modes to really test your rock rolling skills. Thanks to both an extremely loose grip on history and logic more generally, Rock of Ages 3 is sure to have you laughing, especially once you crack open the make mode and begin constructing your own ridiculous courses. And once you've created a few masterpieces, you can look out upon your work and think, I built these levels for rocks that roll.
In Conquer Live and Reloaded, your main adversary is a royal panther who wants to stuff you and use you as a table leg so that his milk doesn't keep spilling over. Fair enough. And if your brain is willing to accept that as a sentence that makes any kind of sense, then you should absolutely download this sleek remaster of Rare's classic platformer from July 1st to the 15th. Conker is a fuzzy cartoon squirrel who would fit right in over at the House of Mouse if only it wasn't for his compulsive swearing, selfishness, and other personal problems. The game begins with him simply trying to make his way home after a wild night out, but it quickly shoots off in 100 different directions, all of which are totally unreasonable. Before you know it, you'll be racing on a hoverboard against a bunch of cavemen, diving into the trenches to fight against an army of fascist teddy bears, and trying to help a flower find itself a worthy pollinator. There's also a giant singing pile of excrement, and you solve several of the game's puzzles by peeing on things. Maybe we've all grown up a little or just gotten kind of square, but one thing's for sure, they don't make them like this anymore.
And if that delightfully disgusting trip down memory lane has you feeling all nostalgic, you can supersize that sensation with this month's final golden game, Midway Arcade Origins, available from July 16th to the 31st. This ace collection of retro games lets you see what Rampage looked like before Dwayne Johnson came along. Test your reflexes on old school shooters like Defender, or try to pull off a perfect 8-bit kickflip in 720 degrees. From Joust to Marble Madness, whether you want to be a root beer tapper or pit fighter, there's a blast of pure 80s gaming available in every flavour. So if you're old enough to remember the glory days of video game arcades, or have just watched enough old movies to kinda dig the idea, Midway Arcade Origins lets you get to grip with some of the classics without inserting a single coin. No, seriously, don't put coins in your Xbox. That is a terrible idea.
That's a wrap on this month's collection of games with gold, from old school delights to magical history tours and extraterrestrial adventures. Sound off in the comments with which ones you'll be checking out first, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for all the latest Xbox news. Bye!